The day my husband became Dr. Khalil Hassan, he handed me divorce papers in the hospital parking lot. 5 years. $287,000. Endless nights working double shifts while he studied. And the second his degree was official, I became disposable. But what he didn't know was that I'd been a forensic accountant long before I became his ATM. And I don't just track money. I make it disappear. Before I tell you how I dismantled his entire future with a single spreadsheet, tell me where you're watching this story from. And if you've ever financed someone else's dream only to watch them walk away, you're not alone. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Because this one ends differently than he planned. My name is Amara, and I used to believe love was about sacrifice. I met Khalil Hassan at a medical charity event in Seattle 7 years ago. I was there representing my firm. I'm a forensic accountant specializing in healthcare fraud investigations. He was a third-year medical student, volunteering, charming and ambitious, with this infectious energy that made you believe he could change the world. Our first conversation lasted 3 hours. He told me about growing up in a small town, being the first in his family to pursue medicine, about patients he wanted to help. I told him about tracking financial criminals, about justice through numbers. He looked at me like I was the most fascinating person he'd ever met. 6 months later we were engaged. The warning signs were there. Small, easy to miss. His mother, Fatima, barely spoke to me at family gatherings. His younger sister, Zara, would make comments about career women who forgot their place. But Khalil always defended me. Or so I thought. The real shift came when he started his residency applications. Top programs. Competitive and expensive. His student loans were already crushing. $180,000 and climbing. One night he sat me down at our tiny apartment kitchen table, spreadsheets covering every surface. "I can't do this alone," he said, voice cracking. "If I don't get into a strong residency program, everything I've worked for disappears. But the application fees, the interview travel, the board exams. Amara, I'm drowning." I looked at the numbers. I looked at him. And I made a choice. "We'll figure it out together," I said. That night I didn't just promise support. I restructured my entire financial life. I pulled projections, calculated how much I could contribute without destroying my own stability. I could cover it. Barely. But I could. The next morning I transferred $8,000 for his residency applications. That was the first payment. It wouldn't be the last. Over the next 5 years, I became Khalil's financial foundation. I paid for everything. Board exam fees, medical equipment, conference travel, even his professional wardrobe for interviews. When his loans came due during residency, I covered those too. Month after month, paycheck after paycheck. I worked longer hours. Took on extra consulting projects. Skipped vacations. Delayed buying a house. My savings account, once healthy and growing, flattened to almost nothing. But every time doubt crept in, Khalil would hold me close and whisper, "When I'm an attending physician, we'll build the life you deserve. I promise." I believed him. I documented everything though. Not because I didn't trust him. Because I'm a forensic accountant. Documentation is reflex. Every transfer got logged in a private spreadsheet. Date, amount, purpose, account details. It wasn't a suspicion. It was just who I was. By year 3, the financial strain was showing. I'd stopped buying new clothes. Started meal prepping to save money. My coworkers noticed I looked tired. My own career stalled because I couldn't afford the certifications I needed to advance. But Khalil was thriving. His residency evaluations were exceptional. He was being courted by prestigious hospitals. Everything was working. Then came the invitation to his family's house for dinner. His mother had insisted on celebrating his upcoming graduation. I'd been too busy to visit often, and Fatima's coldness had only grown. But Khalil promised it would be different now. "They see how much you've sacrificed," he said. "They'll appreciate you." I should have known better. The dinner was formal, tense. Fatima barely looked at me. Zara kept talking about a woman named Layla, a family friend's daughter, a teacher, traditional values. Zara kept emphasizing. Khalil said nothing. Halfway through the meal, Fatima finally addressed me directly. "Amara, you work very hard, yes?" Her tone was pleasant, but her eyes were cold. "I do," I said carefully. "And now that Khalil is finishing, you can finally rest. Maybe start a family properly." The implication was clear. I'd done my job. Now I could become what they actually wanted, a quiet, obedient wife. I love my career, I said, keeping my voice even. I'll keep working. Silence. Thick and uncomfortable. Khalil stared at his plate. We'll see, Fatima said, smiling tightly. That night driving home I asked Khalil about it. About Layla. About his mother's comments. About his silence. She's old-fashioned, he said, dismissive. Ignore her. You didn't defend me. I didn't want to start a fight. Something in his tone felt wrong. Detached. Like I was a problem he was managing, not a partner he was protecting. But graduation was 2 months away. I told myself I was being paranoid. Stressed. Overworked. Once this chapter ended, we'd finally breathe. I was so catastrophically wrong. Graduation day arrived warm and bright. I sat in the audience watching Khalil cross the stage, watching him receive his degree, watching his family cheer. I cheered too, louder than anyone. This was it. 5 years of sacrifice. Finally paying off. After the ceremony we took photos. Khalil posed with his diploma, with his mother, with Zara, with an extended family I barely knew. I stood off to the side, holding everyone's bags like hired staff. Then he suggested we grab coffee before the celebratory dinner. Just the two of us. Thought it was sweet. A moment alone after all the chaos. We walked to a small cafe near the hospital where he'd just accepted an attending position. 6-figure salary. Benefits. Everything we'd worked for. He ordered black coffee. I ordered tea. We sat outside, sunlight filtering through the trees. Amara, he said, hands folded on the table. Formal. Rehearsed. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Not from his words. From his tone. Clinica and distant. The way doctors deliver bad news. I've been thinking a lot about our future, he continued. About what I need to be successful. About compatibility. Khalil, what are you saying? He slid an envelope across the table. Plain manila. No marking. I think it's best if we separate. These are divorce papers. My lawyer already filed them. The world tilted. I stared at the envelope like it was a bomb. You're joking. I'm not. I've thought about this carefully. We want different things. You're too focused on your career. I need a partner who can support my work without competing. Competing. My voice was barely a whisper. I funded your entire education. I gave up everything so you could have this. And I'm grateful, he said, emotionless. But gratitude isn't a marriage. Sign the papers. My lawyer says we can make this quick. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. 5 years. $287,000. Every sacrifice, every missed opportunity, every exhausted night working overtime while he studied in comfort. This is about Layla, isn't it? I said, the pieces snapping together. Your mother already picked your next wife. His silence was confirmation. I stood up slowly, my legs shaking. You used me. I provided partnership during a difficult time, he said, like he was reading from a script. Now we're both free to pursue what we actually want. What do I want? I laughed, hollow and sharp. I wanted the future you promised. The one I paid for. Don't be dramatic, Amara. You'll be fine. You have your career. That word, fine. Like 5 years of my life, my money, my faith meant nothing. Like I was a transaction that had closed. I picked up the envelope. My hands were steady now. Not from calm. From something colder. I'll sign them, I said quietly. He looked relieved. But Khalil. I leaned down, my voice dropping to a whisper only he could hear. You have no idea what you just did. I walked away. Left him sitting there with his coffee and his new degree and his belief that he'd won. He hadn't. He'd just activated the one person on earth who could destroy him without ever stepping into a courtroom. I didn't cry. Not in the parking lot. Not driving home. Not sitting alone in the apartment we'd shared, surrounded by evidence of a life that no longer existed. I didn't cry because crying required feeling, and I'd gone somewhere beyond feeling. Somewhere cold. Analytical. Surgical. I opened my laptop and pulled up the spreadsheet. 5 years of payments. Every single transaction is documented. Date. Amount. Purpose. My life's work is reduced to rows and columns. $287,000. That number sat on the screen like an accusation. Most people would have called a lawyer. Filed for reimbursement. Fought in court for years, maybe getting back pennies on the dollar. Maybe. But I'm not most people. I'm a forensic accountant who specializes in healthcare fraud. I don't just follow money. I understand how medical professionals hide it. How billing systems work. How insurance fraud happens. How financial structures can be built and demolished. And Khalil had just made the worst mistake of his life. He'd married someone who knew exactly where all his bodies were buried. Because there were bodies. The first 48 hours I did nothing. I signed the divorce papers without contest. No demands. No drama. His lawyer probably told him I'd rolled over easily, that I knew I had no claim to his future earnings. They were idiots. While they celebrated their clean exit, I was building something else entirely. Case. Not for court. But for obliteration. I started with his student loans. Khalil had taken out $180,000 in federal loans for medical school. Standard. Except I'd been making the payments for the past 3 years. Every month, $2,100 left my account and went to his loan servicer. Here's what most people don't know. Student loans taken during marriage are usually considered marital debt, and in most divorce cases, that debt gets split, or at least acknowledged. But Khalil's lawyer had crafted the papers carefully, separating everything, claiming all premarital debt as his alone. Which meant legally, every payment I'd made was considered a gift. Unless I could prove otherwise. I opened our old email accounts. I still had access. He'd never changed the passwords. Sloppy. I searched for keywords. Loan, payment, agreement, promise. And there was an email chain from 3 years ago where Khalil explicitly wrote, "Once I'm earning as an attending, I'll pay you back for everything. Every loan payment. Every fee. I promise this is temporary. We're building our future." Written proof. Intent to repay. Not a gift. It was a loan. I downloaded everything. Archived it in 3 separate locations. Next I looked at his taxes. We'd filed jointly for 4 years. I'd done the returns myself. He didn't have time, he'd said. So I knew exactly what he'd reported and what he hadn't. That's when I found the first anomaly. During his 3rd year of residency, Khalil had started doing weekend shifts at an urgent care clinic. Side income. Good money, around $800 per shift. He'd worked there for 18 months. That's approximately $57,600 in additional income. I pulled our joint return from that year. That income wasn't reported anywhere, which meant Khalil had been paid under the table. Cash payments. No W-2. Number 1099. Just tax evasion. My pulse quickened. Not from anger, but from the hunt. I kept digging. Year 4, he'd done consulting work for a medical device company, reviewing products, giving feedback. They'd paid him $15,000. Also not reported. I found the contracts buried in his email. Signed agreements. Payment confirmations. All hidden from the IRS. By year 5 he'd gotten smarter. Or so he thought. He'd opened a separate bank account I didn't know about. Routing side payments there. Keeping it off our joint returns. Building a secret financial cushion while I paid his loans. I pulled records showing cash deposits. Over $40,000 across 2 years. No source documentation. No tax reporting. Khalil Hassan, the golden boy headed for a prestigious attending position, had committed systematic tax fraud. And I had every receipt. But I didn't stop there. I looked at his medical school applications. Specifically the financial aid applications. To get federal loans you have to report your income accurately. Khalil had reported his income. But he'd underreported it. Lied on federal forms to maximize his aid package. That's fraud. Federal fraud. Then I checked his hospital employment contract. The attending position he'd just signed. I'd helped him review it months ago, back when I still thought we were partners. The contract had a morality clause. Standard in healthcare. Any professional misconduct, financial impropriety, or legal violations could result in immediate termination. The pieces were aligning beautifully. But the crown jewel came from somewhere unexpected. His mother. I'd always known Fatima disliked me. What I didn't know was that she'd been financially supporting Khalil behind my back. I found transfers in his secret account. $500 here. $1,000 there. Always with notes like "for your future," or "to help you prepare." Fatima had been funding Khalil's exit strategy. Probably financing his relationship with Layla too. And those transfers? They violated gift tax reporting requirements. Anything over $15,000 per year has to be reported to the IRS. Fatima had sent over $30,000 in 2 years. Never reported. Now I had 2 targets. I spent the next week building a file. Every document, every email and every transaction. I organized it the way I'd organized 100 fraud cases before. Irrefutable and devastating. Then I made a list of recipients. The IRS, Khalil's hospital HR department, the medical licensing board, his loan servicer, the federal student aid office. But I didn't send anything yet. Because the revenge I wanted wasn't just professional destruction. It was public humiliation. I wanted everyone who'd celebrated his success while ignoring my sacrifice to see exactly who he really was. I needed one more thing. Timing. 3 weeks after the divorce papers were signed, Khalil sent me a text. Can we meet? Need to discuss final asset division. I stared at the message feeling nothing. He thought this was over. I thought he'd moved on cleanly while I picked up the pieces. I replied, sure. Coffee shop near the hospital. Thursday at 3. He responded with a thumbs up emoji. The audacity. Thursday came. I arrived early, ordered tea and waited. Khalil walked in exactly on time looking polished. New suit. Expensive watch I'd never seen before. He'd already started spending that attending salary. Amara, he said sitting down. Professional and distant. Like I was a colleague, not the woman who'd funded his entire future. Khalil. I wanted to make sure we're clear on everything. The apartment lease is in your name, so that's yours. My car is paid off, so that's mine. We didn't have joint savings. He said this without irony. So there's nothing to split there. Nothing to split, I repeated slowly. Right. Clean break. My lawyer said this is the smoothest divorce he's handled in years. I sipped my tea. I'm sure he did. So we're good. We're done, I said. Not the same thing, but he didn't catch the distinction. He stood up relieved. I appreciate you being reasonable about this. I know it's been hard. Khalil. I said as he turned to leave. Yeah. How's the new job? His face lit up. Pride. Unearned, undeserved pride. It's incredible. I start officially next week. The position, the salary, the team, everything I worked for. Everything we worked for, I corrected quietly. He flinched. Amara. I'm not asking for anything, I said, my voice calm. I just wanted you to remember that when everything falls apart. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? You'll see. I left him standing there, confused and slightly unnerved. Good. Because the next day was Friday. And Friday was when everything I'd built would detonate. I timed it perfectly. Khalil's official start date at the hospital was the following Monday. His first day as an attending physician. The culmination of everything. The day he'd walk in as Dr. Hassan, respected, accomplished and free. Except he wouldn't make it to Monday. Friday morning 9 a.m. I sent the first email. To IRS Criminal Investigations Division subject. Unreported income and tax fraud healthcare professional. The email was professional, detailed and devastating. I attached every document. Every bank statement. Every contract. Every cash deposit record. I showed systematic underreporting of income across 4 years. I showed the hidden bank account. I included the timestamps proving he'd been receiving payments while filing joint returns that excluded that income. I explained that as his spouse during those years, I'd filed jointly in good faith, unaware of his omissions. I requested they investigate and, if necessary, amend our returns separately so I wouldn't be liable for his fraud. The IRS moves slowly on most things. But healthcare fraud? They move fast. At 10 a.m. I sent the second email. To Professional Standards Committee Medical Licensing Board subject. Financial misconduct. License #M 88264. I outlined the tax fraud. The misrepresentation on federal loan applications. The undisclosed side income during residency that violated hospital moonlighting policies. I attached documentation showing he'd signed agreements not to work outside his residency program without approval. Agreements he'd broken. Medical boards take ethics violations seriously. A doctor who lies about money will lie about patient care. That's their logic and they're not wrong. At 11 a.m. I sent the third email. To Human Resources Director, Cascade Regional Hospital CC. Chief Medical Officer, Department Chair Subject. Pre-employment background concern Dr. Khalil Hassan. This one was delicate. I didn't accuse. I simply raised concerns that had come to my attention as his former spouse. I mentioned the ongoing IRS investigation, not yet ongoing but would be within days. I mentioned the licensing board inquiry, same. I attached copies of his contract with the morality clause highlighted. I noted that as a healthcare institution, they might want to delay his start date pending resolution of these matters. Just a suggestion from someone who wanted to protect the hospital's reputation. Hospitals are terrified of liability. A doctor under investigation is a lawsuit waiting to happen. At noon I sent the fourth email. To Office of Federal Student Aid, U.S. Department of Education Subject. Fraudulent financial aid application, borrower ID number 4472019. I detailed how Khalil had underreported income on his federal loan applications. How he'd misrepresented his financial situation to maximize aid. How this constituted federal fraud under Title IV regulations. Student aid fraud can result in loan acceleration, penalties, and criminal charges. It can also trigger audits of everyone in his loan cohort, making him extremely unpopular with his former classmates. At 1 p.m. I sent the fifth and final email. To Fatima Hassan, his mother. Subject, gift tax reporting. This one was personal. Dear Fatima, I wanted to reach out regarding the financial support you've provided Khalil over the past several years. As someone who works in financial compliance, I wanted to make you aware that gifts exceeding $15,000 per year must be reported to the IRS using Form 709. Based on bank records I've reviewed, you've provided Khalil with over $30,000 in the past 2 years without filing the required gift tax returns. This constitutes a violation of federal tax law and may result in penalties, interest, and potential audits of your financial records. I've attached documentation of these transfers for your reference. You may want to consult with a tax attorney to address this proactively before the IRS identifies the discrepancy themselves. I'm only reaching out because I'd hate for this to become a bigger problem for your family. I'm sure Khalil would want you protected. Best regards, Amar. I included every transfer record. Every note she'd written. Then I hit send. And waited. The beauty of what I'd done was its inevitability. Each email would trigger an investigation. Each investigation would uncover the others. The IRS would notify the medical board. The medical board would notify the hospital. The hospital would notify the loan servicer. Everything would cascade, interconnect, become inescapable. Khalil couldn't lawyer his way out of this. Couldn't charm his way out. Couldn't have his mother fix it. Because this wasn't one problem. It was 5 interconnected federal and professional violations, all documented, all provable. And it would all hit him at once. Friday afternoon my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail. Ms. Amara, this is Helen Okoye from Cascade Regional Hospital HR. We need to speak with you regarding the information you sent this morning. Please call back at your earliest convenience. I didn't call back. Another voicemail an hour later. This is Agent Diallo from IRS Criminal Investigations. We've received your complaint and would like to schedule an interview to discuss the documentation you provided. I called that one back. Scheduled an interview for the following week. Confirmed I'd filed jointly in good faith and wanted to cooperate fully. By evening my phone was lighting up with messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Khalil's friends. The sisters are. Even his lawyer. I blocked them all. Except one. At 8:47 p.m. Khalil called. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Amara. His voice was shaking. Not angry but terrified. What did you do? I don't know what you mean. The hospital. They put my position on hold. They said there's an investigation. The medical board called. The IRS. Amara, what the hell did you do? I reported financial discrepancies I discovered during our marriage, I said calmly. As a forensic accountant, I'm actually obligated to report suspected fraud. You destroyed me, he screamed. Do you understand what this means? They could revoke my license. I could lose everything. Everything. I let the word hang. You mean the career I paid for? The degree I funded? The future I sacrificed for? This is insane. You can't do this. I didn't do anything except tell the truth. You're the one who committed fraud, Khalil. I just documented it. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. You know what the worst part is? I continued, my voice soft but cutting. You actually thought you could use me and walk away clean. You thought I'd just disappear quietly. Like I was nothing. Amara, please. Don't. I'm done being your safety net. Babe. Your convenient stepping stone. You wanted a divorce? You got one. But you don't get to keep everything you stole from me while pretending you earned it alone. I'll fight this, he said, voice hardening. I'll prove you're lying. You can't prove I'm lying when I'm not. Every document I sent is real. Every transaction is verified. Every law you break is federal. This isn't a he said she said situation, Khalil. This is math. And math doesn't lie. I hung up. He called back immediately. I declined. He texted, we can fix this. I'll pay you back. Every cent. Just retract the complaints. I replied, you can't retract the truth. But feel free to try. That night I slept better than I had in 5 years. The next week unfolded like dominoes falling. Monday morning, the day Khalil was supposed to start his attending position, he received a certified letter from Cascade Regional Hospital. I know because Zara posted about it in a family group chat I was somehow still part of. She'd forgotten to remove me. They suspended his offer pending investigation, she wrote. This is a nightmare. Amara ruined everything. I screenshot the message and save it. Not for evidence. For memory. Tuesday, the Medical Licensing Board officially opened an ethics investigation. I knew because I received a follow-up email requesting additional documentation. I provided everything they asked for within 2 hours. Professional. Cooperative. Thorough. Wednesday, Khalil's lawyer called me. I answered. Ms. Amara, I represent Dr. Hassan in this matter. Former Dr. Hassan, I corrected. His license is under review. Pause. Ms. Amara, my client is willing to discuss a financial settlement if you're willing to withdraw your complaints. I can't withdraw the truth from federal agencies. They're conducting independent investigations now. It's out of my hands. You initiated this. I reported fraud. That's different. My client is willing to pay you $100,000 to make this go away. I laughed. Actually, I laughed. $100,000? I spent nearly 3 times that. And you think I did this for money? Then what do you want? I want him to experience consequences. Real ones. The kind I experienced when I sacrificed everything and got nothing. You can't buy that. You're being vindictive. I'm being fair, I said. For the first time in 5 years, I'm being fair. I hung up. Thursday, Fatima called. I'd been expecting this. You evil woman, she hissed the moment I answered. You've destroyed my son. You've destroyed this family. I documented your son's crimes, I said evenly. If that destroyed him, he destroyed himself. He was going to be something great. And you couldn't stand it because you're bitter and jealous. I funded him being great, Fatima. Every application fee. Every loan payment. Every expense. I paid for the greatness you're so proud of. And when he didn't need me anymore, he discarded me. So yes, I documented what he'd been hiding. Fraud. Tax evasion. The lies. You sent those papers about my gifts to him. You're trying to get me in trouble too. You gave your son over $30,000 without reporting it. That's not my fault. That's yours. I simply made sure you were aware of the law. I'll sue you. For what? Telling the truth? Go ahead. Discovery will be fascinating. She hung up screaming. By Friday, the news had spread through their entire family and social circle. I started getting messages from people I'd met once at family gatherings. Most were hostile. Some were just confused. One stood out. Layla. I don't know what happened between you and Khalil, but I want you to know I had nothing to do with your divorce. He told me you'd been separated for months before we started talking. I replied, he served me divorce papers the day he graduated. We weren't separated. We were married and I was funding his education. But thank you for letting me know he's a liar to you too. She didn't respond. But 3 hours later, Khalil posted a vague Facebook status. Sometimes people show you who they really are when you need them most. The comment section filled with support from people who had no idea what was actually happening. I didn't respond. Didn't clarify. Just watched. Week 2 brought the real consequences. The IRS formally opened an investigation and sent Khalil a notice. They were auditing the last 6 years of returns. All jointly filed returns would be scrutinized, and based on their findings, they'd determine liability separately. Khalil would owe back taxes, penalties, interest, and possibly criminal charges depending on intent. The medical board sent him a formal notice of hearing. He'd have to appear before the ethics committee to address financial misconduct allegations. His license was temporarily suspended pending review. The hospital formally rescinded his job offer. The morality clause had been triggered. They couldn't employ a physician under active investigation by both the IRS and the licensing board. And the loan servicer? They flagged his account for fraud review and contacted the Department of Education. If the fraud was confirmed, they could demand immediate full repayment. No more payment plans. All $180,000 due immediately. Khalil was unemployed, under investigation by 3 federal agencies, at risk of losing his medical license, and potentially facing a 6-figure bill he couldn't pay. Meanwhile, I went back to work. Business as usual. My boss called me into her office 2 weeks after everything started. Amara, I heard about your divorce. I'm sorry. Are you doing okay? I'm fine, I said. Better than fine, actually. He studied me. You seem lighter. I finally let go of something heavy. She nodded. Well, you're doing excellent work. I'm recommending you for senior forensic analyst. You've earned it. The promotion I delayed for 5 years to fund Khalil's career. Now it was mine. 3 weeks in, Khalil's lawyer reached out again. The settlement offer had changed. My client can offer $50,000 and a public apology. He acknowledges he should have handled the finances differently during your marriage. No, I said. Ms. Amara, you have to understand. My client's career is over if these investigations proceed. His life is ruined. His career is over because he committed fraud. His life is ruined because he thought consequences were optional. I'm not the villain here. I'm just an accountant. You're destroying a man's future. No, I said quietly. I'm collecting on a debt. He took 5 years of my life, my money, my future. I'm just making sure he doesn't get to enjoy the future I paid for while I get nothing. This is revenge. This is balance. By week 4, the cracks in Khalil's world became chasms. Layla left him. I know because someone forwarded me a screenshot of his Instagram story. Finding out who's real when everything falls apart. His prestigious colleagues stopped returning calls. His mother stopped sending money. She was dealing with her own IRS inquiry and couldn't afford to help. Zara made the family group chat even more entertaining. Khalil might have to move home. He can't pay rent. This is all Amara's fault. I replied in the chat for the first time in weeks. Khalil had $287,000 of my money to build his career. If he can't afford rent now, maybe he should check where all that money actually went. Zara removed me from the group immediately. But the message was seen by everyone first. Week 6 brought the hearing. Khalil had to appear before the medical licensing board. I wasn't required to attend, but the board requested I be available for questions. I went. The hearing room was sterile, official. Khalil sat with his lawyer looking hollowed out. He'd lost weight. His suit hung loose. When he saw me, something in his face crumpled. Not anger but defeat. The board reviewed the evidence. They asked him about the unreported income, the under-the-table payments, the fraudulent loan applications. He tried to explain. I made mistakes. I was under financial pressure. My wife, ex-wife, was handling the finances and I didn't realize. Dr. Hassan, the board chair interrupted. Are you suggesting you didn't know about income you personally received? I knew, but... Did you report this income on your taxes? No. Did you report it on your financial aid applications? No. Did you disclose your moonlighting work to your residency program as required? Silence. Dr. Hassan, this board takes integrity seriously. Your actions demonstrate a pattern of deception and financial misconduct. These are not mistakes. These are choices. The lawyer tried to argue mitigating circumstances. Tried to blame me for financial control. Tried to paint Khalil as a victim. Then the board asked me to speak. I stood, calm and prepared. I want to clarify something, I said. Dr. Hassan didn't make mistakes. He made calculated decisions to hide income, evade taxes and defraud federal loan programs while I paid his bills. He did this knowingly. And when he no longer needed my financial support, he divorced me and attempted to walk away with everything I'd built for him. Did you have knowledge of these financial improprieties during your marriage? The chair asked. No. I discovered them only after he filed for divorce when I reviewed our financial records. As a forensic accountant, I'm obligated to report fraud. I did my job. Thank you, Ms. Amara. I sat down. The board deliberated for 40 minutes. When they returned, their decision was clear. Dr. Khalil Hassan, this board finds credible evidence of financial misconduct and ethical violations. Your medical license is hereby suspended for a minimum of 2 years. You may reapply for reinstatement only after completing ethics training, paying all outstanding fines and taxes and demonstrating rehabilitation. This suspension is effective immediately. Khalil's face went white. 2 years. No license. No income. No future in medicine without starting completely over. His lawyer tried to argue. The board was unmoved. As I walked out of the hearing room, Khalil caught up to me in the hallway. Amara, please. I stopped and turned. He looked broken and smaller. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I never should have done this. I was selfish and stupid and, please. Can we fix this? I studied with him. This man I'd loved. This man I'd sacrificed everything for. This man who'd thrown me away the second I was no longer useful. No, I said simply. Amara. You don't get to say sorry now, Khalil. Sorry doesn't work after you've destroyed someone and gotten caught. Sorry is supposed to come before the damage, not after the consequences. I lost everything. No, I corrected. You lost everything you stole. There's a difference. I walked away. He didn't follow. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. I'd been promoted. My salary had increased by $40,000. I'd bought a small condo downtown with tall windows and a view of the water. I'd started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. With someone who actually saw me. And Khalil? Last I heard, he was working as a medical scribe at an urgent care clinic. Making $18 an hour. Living with his mother. Trying to save money to pay back the IRS and eventually reapply for his license. The IRS had assessed him $87,000 in back taxes, penalties and interest. He was on a payment plan that would take him 15 years to complete. His student loans had been accelerated due to the fraud. He owed the full $180,000 immediately. He'd defaulted and the government had started garnishing his wages. The hospital had blacklisted him from future employment. No major medical center would touch him with an active fraud record. And Layla? She'd married someone else. A banker. Someone stable. Fatima had to pay a $15,000 penalty to the IRS for unreported gifts. She blamed me in every family gathering. I didn't care. Zara sent me a message once. I hope you're happy. You destroyed an innocent man. I replied, I held a guilty man accountable. There's a difference. She blocked me. Sometimes late at night I think about what I did. I wonder if I went too far. If revenge was worth it. Then I remember sitting in that coffee shop, listening to Khalil casually discard 5 years of my life like it meant nothing. Remember him calling my sacrifices dramatic. Remember him walking away with everything I'd paid for without a single ounce of guilt. And I realize I didn't go too far. I went exactly far enough. Because the truth is, some people only learn accountability when consequences arrive. Khalil thought he could use people and walk away clean. Though love was transactional and loyalty was optional. He learned differently. Me. I learned something too. I learned that you don't have to accept being used. You don't have to smile through betrayal. You don't have to let people who hurt you walk away untouched. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth. Document it. Report it. And let the systems designed to catch fraud do exactly what they're built for. I didn't ruin Khalil's life. He ruined it himself the moment he chose deception over integrity. I just made sure the bill finally came due. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been used and discarded by someone you sacrificed for, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. And remember, accountability isn't revenge. It's just the truth with consequences. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next story, it's even more shocking. And you won't want to miss it.